And welcome back.
And we have with us the representative, Mr. Marin from Belize Diesel and Equipment Company Limited. Welcome.
All right, thank you for having me on air. So this morning, I really wanted to talk about Toyota in Belize. For the last 60 years, Toyota has been officially represented in Belize by Belize Diesel and Equipment. The first sale of Toyota in Belize was in 1958,
Wow.
which was quite a long time, preceding our own nation's independence.
Yeah.
And so we're especially proud of that. It's actually one of the first companies to be officially represented in Belize. So I think that's a landmark for the brand.
60 years.
And
Yes.
it speaks a lot for the quality of vehicle too, because in the roads back then, I could imagine, are not the cement streets that we have now.
No.
And so
You don't have to imagine. It's the facts. Yeah.
Yeah, there are many places in Belize you can still go to that, still being paved out, and, old logging roads that eventually become roads to villages and that kind of thing. And in fact, we, in our care, have a 1972 Land Cruiser that was the first vehicle to traverse the beaches of Placencia before anything was there. So that's actually a piece of Belizean history right in our own backyard.
Ryan, what do you account to the longevity of the brand being present in Belize?
Well, first off, the brand is officially recognized here, so we have a dealer network, right? And that's really the success of the brand throughout the world. I mean, in any reach of the world, you can find a Toyota vehicle being operated. And the success of the dealer network means that the dealer has parts, is well trained in the vehicles themselves. They choose vehicles that are region specific. So that's why you'll see a lot of Toyotas in Belize that you don't see elsewhere, like the American market, and there are different models all around the world, and that's because Toyota does their research and studying to ensure that each vehicle that comes to the market will last. Like Belize, for instance, we have the engineers of the Hilux visiting Belize. Last year we had to do a little activity where we take the GoPro and put it on the front of the vehicle, and we had to drive from north to south so that we can send the footage to Japan and they can see our roads, and so they got to actually see a good stretch of Belizean roads.
And they want to see how much it bounces along the way. That's what they're gauging.
Well, a lot of different things go into what they choose, to identify. One of the main things, though, is fuel samples. So every 3 months, we have to go to the gas stations and fill up a little 1-liter container and ship it out to Japan. And they analyze the fuel. And I would say we're pretty much on par with, or maybe even more than what the government knows of what's actually in the fuel, because it's on a 3-month data cycle. So we find out all sorts of different water content, different metals, all sorts of different things. So they take that into consideration, and they make engine-specific vehicles for Belize.
You can't just say you test the fuel and not tell us the response. Come on, man.
Curious. Yeah, so the fuel is actually pretty consistent for the region.
Okay.
Right, so it's not the best, nor is it the worst.
Okay.
We have places like Africa that you can imagine where the fuel gets handed down in so many different ways that it does get a little bit more contamination. Luckily for us, it's not so bad, but it is considerable enough for them to make a specific vehicle for Belize. And while Belize isn't a big market, they do consider every single owner.
Yeah.
Every single person who buys a Toyota, they consider, and they want that experience to be a good one, of course.
Yeah. Obviously, if the specifications of the needs for Belize are being taken into consideration, it means that you're making good enough sales here in this country for this to be considered. Talk to us about how it has been going in terms of Belizean interest in Toyota products.
Well, the good thing is that Toyota has a good reputation here in Belize. Not all the Toyotas that you see in Belize comes from Belize Diesel, but it goes to show that people have confidence in the brand. whether they get it, gray market import from the U.S. or elsewhere in the world. That's a term that Toyota has coined. It's not necessarily...
Not black market.
Yeah, it's not necessarily illegal to have these vehicles, but they consider it, well, it's not region specific. So you can expect to not have the same kind of life that you would have with a region specific vehicle. And that's really because of the fuel. So expect to be servicing the catalytic converters, and not to be too technical, but you will run into some trouble down the line.
So if I bring a first world car into a third world destination, that's where I'll have lots of that's your gray market that you're speaking of.
That's kind of like what they coin as gray market.
Like there's certain parts that deal with snow, for example, or heated seats in Belize.
Yeah, and those are like some of the things that we wouldn't get as an option for our vehicle. Or
emission requirements.
And that's especially the reason why they have region-specific vehicles is because the emission controls that they put on these vehicles are quite costly, and they do quite a bit of damage to the vehicle themselves, to the engine especially. I don't know if you can recall, some years ago we had a major world manufacturer who had to go to the Department of Justice in the US to answer for some of their emission results.
VW you're talking about? I can call names?
Well, I'm glad that you said it.
Yeah.
And part of the reason is because why they're trying to do that is because when they put these emission controls on the vehicle, it changes up how the vehicle operates, the performance, the life, and so that's what they were trying to cut out.
I read somewhere, I don't know if it's relation to Toyota, but that there are about 200 variations of the of Toyotas. Is that true, one? And two, a question. Why is it that we don't see a lot of cars?
Okay.
We for the most part, Belizeans, we see the SUVs, the pickup trucks. But a car, I mean, the duty alone for a car is cheaper, so it'd be a little bit more affordable. The Camry is a wonderful car. The Corolla is a beast. It could be a family heirloom for you.
And it is oftentimes.
Why are we not bringing in cars? And this first question as well.
Well, first of all, that goes to firstly, that's because of the environment. And that goes back to why we send videos and information about Belize and the roads. And they simply don't recommend that you have cars, is because suspension for cars are really designed for highway and paved streets and,
better roads.
Yeah, much better roads. And so what they deem for a vehicle owner in Belize, they want you to not be limited. You can go to Mountain Pine Ridge or through the coastal road or highway and drive without worrying or without having to endure any sacrifice.
Yeah. But what if you say that 90% of the market should be that way, but 10% should not be limited? Is there an option that I can go into Belize diesel and say, listen, I like a Camry?
Well, the Camry specifically is a North American spec car. Yeah. So that's one of the reasons why we don't bring it in. And that goes back to the same emission controls that they have on their vehicles, which with our fuel might become a problem. Yeah. And so like with our Prado and Hilux and RAV4 and Land Cruiser, which are the popular models, we have a rough road spec, right? So like, let's say in Asia, they do have quite a bit of good roads. So they'll have like a highway spec Prado, which, might be overkill, but in Belize, we have rough road spec. So the suspension is a little bit more heavier duty, bigger shocks, heavier duty coils. Yeah. And the parts generally are tougher.
And just to be clear, this is if you get it from the dealership.
Yes, of course.
It's not if you import it, because we don't want people to be confused. But I wanna go back. Obviously, one of the things that Kevin mentioned is looking at the durability of cars. Yeah. But I think people also see it for the affordability of it.
Of course.
A lot of times people just look at an SUV, whether it's small or a big one, that just never will be able to afford it. What do you say to Belizeans in terms of making that type of investment?
I'm glad you asked. So Toyota is really an investment, whether it's pre-owned or new. Mm-hmm. one of the great things is that Toyota has the best resale value. If you own it for 5 or 10 years, you can guarantee that you're going to have a sale for it in an hour. And that's one of the true stories of many of our customers.
That's
is
true.
that, you know what, today I'm coming in to buy a Hilux because I sold my last one in an hour.
Wow.
You know?
Yeah.
And so I know the other vehicles out there are very comparable and they have this feature and that feature, and we can go on and talk about features. But ultimately, it comes back to the confidence in the brand. And one of the attributes to the confidence, again, goes back to the dealer network. I brought some certificates in today to show that our technicians working in the workshop have to be certified by Toyota, right? They have to undergo both theoretical training and hands-on training and demonstrate certain skills. And then that video goes back to review.
I think that's a very important point. I was hoping that you had brought, there's a very good mechanic there. His name is Roderick Arthurs. I think he's a very nice guy. I don't want to say why.
Don't push your family here. What's going on now? Yeah.
But vehicles will give trouble.
Yes.
And Toyotas tend to give less trouble than other vehicles, you would say. And two, in terms of, we're talking about affordability. I'm listening to all of the technology. I did not know a lot of the stuff that you just told us, in terms of the due diligence that you guys do.
Yeah, there's a lot of homework in
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But the servicing of a Toyota is also more expensive than the average vehicle.
And that goes back to quality of parts. So we often try to educate our customers as best we could when we tell them a price, and the first thing is, well, are you sitting down or standing up, right?
Yeah.
But the truth is that the parts are of higher quality. We can take any other brand out of their box, and compare it to a Toyota part out of the box, and you can just see and feel the quality.
Yeah.
And that's really why these stay on the road a lot longer. And one of their famous taglines is, keep your Toyota driving like a Toyota. Come in and maintain it with genuine parts. Come to the dealer, the guys that know and are trained to handle these vehicles, and that's really the success of the brand in every corner of the globe.
Yeah. Let's go back to price points though. What's the range that someone has to look at if they are considering buying a brand new Toyota?
So the Hilux has many different grades, and they start at $71,000, right? That's with all your taxes and licenses and everything out the door, and they go all the way up to $98,000. Now we have this limited edition Hilux that we just got in this week, and that's one of the ones that retail for $98,000. And this model here is limited. Right now we only have our hands on 2.
This one?
Yeah, this one. And
so what's special about this one?
Well, what's really special is that Toyota doesn't normally do factory install options like this with the black rims and the stickers and the roll bar and
Those are usually add-on options.
These are normally add-on dealer options. They normally have a standard Hilux for every grade option, and then you customize it. But instead, they took one of their engineers and design team and came up with this design. And so this is actually something very special. A lot of the limited branding is on the roll bar inside, on the floor mats.
That's beautiful.
So you brought 2?
Only 2. So only 2 are available in this country.
And this cost?
$98,000.
All right.
And the 71,000
is what we consider like the basic Hilux, like a fleet model.
Without the bells and whistles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is to get you to A to B reliably.
Yeah. Now the Hilux is a very popular brand.
Yes.
For you all,
Yes, the Hilux.
What do you think is the reason
mainstay.
behind that?
Well, a lot of it has to do with the tax structure of the country and of the region, really. There's much lower taxes on pickup trucks because traditionally we've thought of pickup trucks as work vehicles. But in the last 5 to 10 years, we've seen a transformation of the pickup truck from, your
workhorse.
Your workhorse to your actual family vehicle.
Yeah.
right? Where it comes now with touchscreen and reverse camera and all the bells and whistles that you could imagine.
Yeah.
So that's really the
I always thought
reason.
people just had a preference for pickups. It's just because it's less tax?
It's less tax.
A lot less tax,
It's
right?
a lot less tax.
There
When you
we
compare
go.
it to a SUV, we're talking like maybe 3 times less
Yeah.
tax.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, you've obviously done your research. You know how long people are holding on to these cars. If I make that investment, I say, you know what, I'm ready. I'm going to invest in a brand new Hilux.
Yeah.
How long, on average, do people keep it before they resell?
Well, it depends on how they purchase it. If they purchase it outright, that tends to be like a family heirloom.
Okay.
If they finance it, we can see financing ranges from 3 to 7 years,
Yeah.
depending on how much you want to be paying.
Yeah.
And that's really where the cycles start to come into
Yeah.
effect. Where, well, at the end of the payments, then they get a new one, or
Yeah.
if they sign a lease.
Oh, we have leasing options in Belize?
Yes, we
Yeah.
do have leasing options in Belize.
And you can actually, so now I decide, listen, I can't make that investment, but I can get a previously owned from Belize Diesel.
That's right. Well, it's actually more valuable than gold.
Yeah.
We don't often get our hands on a pre-owned Hilux.
Yeah.
It's really something that comes in at the moment, and we normally take a name
Yeah.
with a list, and whoever's on that list that answers their call first will.
Oh, there's a waiting list.
Oh
for
yeah,
previously
there
owned.
is a
Oh.
waiting list for this and the highest van,
Oh, wow.
and that's a popular option for tour guides and hotels.
How many do you bring in per year? How many total vehicles do you bring in per year?
It ranges. So for 2017, we did like 196. So that it's not big major market, but it's still considerable for our country.
Yeah.
And they're normally all gone.
Oh, normally, yes, normally.
You told me I could ask you a hard question
Yes.
on air, which is, at a time nationally where the country is seeing some hard financial times.
Right.
You have one of the largest persons or groups that use vehicles in this country is the government.
Right.
And I say government, I mean the public service, the politicians, and they're all bought from government funds. We've been noticing that there's been a variety
Yeah.
of vehicles.
A fleet change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there any benefit or disbenefit from having this variety of vehicles? Because in the past, it used to be a lot of Toyotas.
Yeah. Well, it all depends on who's making the decision, to be quite frank. The upfront cost is normally what people look at. But like
Yeah.
I mentioned before, it's an investment. Let's say I'm going to shift off a little bit. Let's say for your average Belizean family household, they buy a brand new vehicle, right? They experience low maintenance costs because it's brand new, they're not going to have any trouble with it. And 3 years down the road, they do actually start to get some financial trouble, and they realize that, this vehicle is too costly. They can actually sell that car and maybe make some money, and then pay off the loan note.
So going back to the institutional
Yeah.
governmental
Yeah.
purchases, do you think there would be some benefit in having one brand of vehicles on the road?
We normally recommend that fleet clients choose one fleet model. That's across the board. It may not even be Toyota, unfortunately, sometimes. But we recommend simply for their own efficiency, and that goes to them because they are essentially a fleet.
Nice.
Fleet operator, yeah.
Now we got to talk about some of the new models on. I mean, that's always the fun part because we get to do all the lusting, right? So we're gonna start off with the new RAV4.
Right.
Tell us.
19.
So for 2019, Toyota has redesigned the RAV4, and quite honestly, it is a good-looking car. It is quite the eye catcher, and so. The RAV4 has made a succession from a very small SUV to now a very, I don't know, just a head turner.
Yeah.
And it comes with all the bells and whistles that you can imagine, and that's really where the brand is going towards in the future. I mean, Toyota knows what their cars will look like 10 years from now.
Wow.
And so we're really glad to see that.
So what's special about the new RAV4?
So for one, it's a lot bigger.
Oh.
This is comparable to maybe like what the Highlander looked like 5 years ago.
Okay.
Even the Prado, maybe 10 years ago. this is now catching up to the size of that. They will now begin hybrid. And that's one of the things that I also wanted to touch base on. So because of the CO2 emissions worldwide, that's kind of starting to clamp down on the company, and they've been pushing hybrid throughout much of the major markets in the world. And Toyota's very famous for it because they kind of patented a lot of the technology. And so they're starting to push now for Belize to be hybrid friendly.
When you say hybrid, it's a combination of
both gasoline and electric.
And
electric power. So it mostly runs on electric power, and it uses the gasoline to just bump it up in case you really want that extra juice.
So they're pushing it in this region, but I mean, we don't have anything to support this yet. I think it's cool. I'd love to have an electric car, but...
Well, the dealer supports it. So if you do have one or decide to buy one, first of all, they're quite costly.
Of course.
But we do support it. But one of the main hindrances that we've had is, first off, the tax structure. In many parts, to buy a hybrid, they give you tax credits. And that's an incentive to own one.
Because it's good for the environment.
Yes. And also the emergency response. If you do get in an accident with a hybrid, they want you to approach it a little bit different than a regular car.
Why is that?
And that's because the vehicle uses a lot of high voltage wires. And so they want the EMS and fire team to be very well trained in that.
So the RAV4, the 2019 RAV4 that will be coming in will be a hybrid?
Yes, so it is a hybrid option.
Oh, okay.
But we mostly choose gasoline versions because, again, of the durability of the engine.
Which one is more popular, though? Gasoline or diesel?
Diesel by far. Diesel by far. Traditionally, because of the price and because diesel engines use less fuel to make the same power. So
it always boils down to the cost.
Generally, you won't need as much diesel to go, like, let's say, from here to Curacao. You'll need far less diesel in the same, given like the same 4-cylinder gas, 4-cylinder diesel.
There's a diesel.
And it used to be a lot cheaper.
It
still is cheaper, but...
Yes. And I also wanted to touch base on the new Prado that's new.
I was going to get there. Let's talk about that. Now, I have to ask, this is seen as the ultimate luxury for people who are purchasing a brand new vehicle. And many times you see them rolling by and you go, man, we have a lot of people who can afford them. Talk to us about how the sales have been for the Prados.
So Prado, like the Hilux, is one of our is actually our second strongest sales item. And the Prado just looks sexy, if I can say that on here.
Yeah, you can.
And it has its appeal. It's very luxurious inside, leather wrapped everything. The steering wheel now comes milled out of bamboo from Japan, Japanese bamboo. So there's a lot of high-end, luxurious finishes on there.
It's about us. The Prado is a status symbol.
The Prado is kind of takes on that, yes, but
it's an understatement.
He's smiling there because he doesn't want to say it,
but it is actually a very reliable vehicle, and almost all, I would want to say 98% of the Prados that we've sold are still on the road today. So while it might be this ultra high-end luxurious vehicle, you can pass it on to your kids, to your grandkids even. And it will last and retain its value nonetheless.
Some of the some of the features that we're seeing on television, like the self-parking, have those reached Belize yet?
Again, that comes down to region-specific regulation. Now, like I said, there's a lot of homework involved in getting these features in the vehicle. A lot of regulation as well. The U.S. has, tons of people just to monitor the regulations of automaker features. And so when you have standardized roads, standardized spaces for parking, that sort of thing, it's much easier for the automaker to make these kind of features. However, I recently, just this year, did a study on parking lots in Belize for a lot of the features that will be coming in the next round of Toyotas that include like blind spot monitoring, rear traffic alert. So you could be reversing out. That's one of the biggest problems. You're in a tight spot. you're reversing out, you don't know what's coming, and the vehicle will actually let you know, yeah, you have either somebody walking or a car coming, and you know, these are important safety features that we're going to be depending on very soon.
I think they had automatic braking in Belize. The vehicle can go anywhere because bicycles are cutting across you. You know, people are walking.
We actually did another test on a vehicle that has that feature, and you can adjust the sensitivity, of course.
Like 0?
Yeah, and you
well, you don't want 0, but it would be have to.
But it does tell you. It does bring on a red flag on the dashboard to say, yeah, you collision alert.
So we have the new Prado, and we have the new RAV4 as well, and you're bringing in a new SUV as well?
Yes, we have a new, more affordable SUV being introduced late June. It's called the Toyota Rush. Now this is a
Let's see what that looks like.
Yeah.
This is a 7-seater gasoline SUV that will be priced at $69,000 out the door. Wow. And this is a brand new vehicle, of course, for 2018. And
what does it look like? What does it have?
Well, we've already had a variant of the Rush in the market already, and it's popular with the rentals and the fleet clients. But
under the same name?
Yeah, under the same name. And but Toyota has decided to redesign it, make it bigger, make it more commuter vehicle. So this is a good option for families maybe living out of town that need to come to work every day, don't need all the bells and whistles, but need a reliable vehicle to come to work.
So it's like about the size of the Highlanders to have a mental picture.
We're going to get it up, yeah.
It is actually about the size of the RAV, but with the capability of
previous
of
RAV4, recent RAV4.
There we go. Yeah,
there she is.
Oh.
So it's like a crossover style SUV. But again, it's something that's very modern looking, consistent with much of what the brand is trying to go for. If you notice, like the new Lexuses are, super sharp, and you'll find a lot of the design cues in this model as well. And so,
so this will be available this summer.
This will be available, yes, end of June.
Wow.
Okay, there you go.
And again, the draw to this SUV is the price.
Yeah.
With the promotions going on right now with our partnered bank, Scotiabank, you'll be able to take home this vehicle for about $1,000 a month.
You're kidding me.
No, $1,000 a month.
Sorry. You should have warned me about that before. Wow, that's...
Okay, so July, I'll see you in what color?
And that's with the 10% down?
Yeah, no, this is out the door, 100% financing.
That's a beautiful investment.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Now, I love that you spoke about, one of the things I think Kevin mentioned earlier was looking at just the economy as it is. And so obviously moving to a more affordable option for people is showing that you do have a demand for your brand, but also within a price range that people can afford.
Yes, and again, in setting up the financing options readily available with the bank, as you come into the dealership, you just have to present, your a very easy application to fill out, and you can be on your way to owning one of these. $1,000 is mostly affordable for many middle-income families.
For families.
Yes, but especially for the bigger families who have kids to bring down, who have mom and dad, and that's really where we're hoping that this vehicle will help their situation.
All right. So how do you celebrate the 60th anniversary?
Well, customer appreciation is really our formula, right? At Belize Diesel, every day we remind our staff that walks through the doors that we're only here because of our customers, and we only continue this business because, well, we're doing something right.
Yeah.
And so I invite everybody to come down to, get your vehicle maintained. We do have special deals and discounts for our loyal customers, but for new customers as well. If you're interested in switching over from a different brand to the Toyota line, we can definitely hook you up.
All right, there you go. Well, Ryan, thank you so much for coming in and talking a bit about what's happening with Belize Diesel and we'll have to look forward to.
All right, thank you for having me.
All right, we're going to go ahead and take our final break, and when we come back, we'll have our wrap-up, so stay tuned.